Welcome back, listeners, to Mindful Living with your host, Sana, where we explore the art of being present, intentional, and truly alive in every moment. Now, today in this conversation, I have a guest whose journey embodies resilience, reinvention, and truly the power of a sharp, focused mind. Roy Coughlan is a serial entrepreneur who has founded over 20 companies across 5 countries. He's a podcasting expert with 6 shows in the top 5% and a co founder of Braingym.Fitness, which is a platform dedicated to cognitive enhancement. Listeners, he's also the co founder of VA.World, helping businesses find the right virtual assistants. But beyond all the success, Roy has experienced profound highs and devastating lows, including financial collapse and personal setbacks. But yet, he rebuilt, emerging even stronger. So, today we are diving into mindfulness, an essential tool for navigating both the peaks and valleys of life. So, with that, listeners, let's quickly dive deep into today's conversation. Roy, welcome to the show, and it's an absolute honor having you with us.
Thank you very much. I look forward to the conversation. I appreciate you having me on.
Uh, Roy, I mean, what a journey. So since we're talking about mindfulness, it's often described as uh, being fully aware about your present situation or fully present in the moment. So, with your fast paced entrepreneurial journey, so much on your plate, how exactly do you practice mindfulness or define mindfulness?
I think what you've just said, it's kind of being present in the moment. And
Mhm.
with the technology today, everybody is kind of looking at their phone as they're doing something else, or they're not paying attention, or people are at work thinking of their family, they're at home thinking of their work. They're never present. And mindfulness is being there. So when I'm with my child and I'm playing a game, I'm totally present. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm not thinking of something else. I'm there playing with him, present. When I'm out reading a book, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the weather, or if I'm looking at nature, just being totally present. And I think time slows down when you do that. And sometimes you think, oh, I don't have time for that. I need to be busy, busy, busy. And you need to step away sometimes and just enjoy life, because we tend to just work, 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 and into this lie that when I get to 65, I'm going to retire and enjoy everything. It's when you're younger that you should be enjoying it. And it's great to do that at 65, be able to kind of maybe get a camper van and tour around. But don't fall into that lie thinking that's when you start living. Live every moment as if it's going to be your last, because you never know when it is. But plan to live to 150.
Very beautifully said, Roy. And I absolutely loved the fact that you mentioned that why to just wait for your retirement or your 60s to enjoy your life. I mean, we have to enjoy our time in our youth as well. It's not like we can slog our way and ignore everything else, our health, our mind, our family, our loved ones, and just get busy into work and ignore our youth as well. So very, very crucial and beautifully put up, Roy. Uh, okay, now talking about mindfulness in business. So multiple businesses you have scaled, you have built across that two different industries, which is not a small feat. So, how has mindfulness played a role in your decision making, in fact, risk taking, and leadership?
So, like, one of the things that you just said there is, in different sectors. And a lot of people think based on what you've studied and you get into profession, that
Mhm. Yeah.
is who you identify as and that's who you are. The reality is every single business is people to people. And once you understand how to deal with people, you can learn the skill set or you can hire it. So you can do anything and don't fear anything. And if you ask about the mindfulness in the different businesses, I get excited. I enjoy things that I do, like yourself with the podcasting. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy when I'm having conversations with people and that whole process. But there's some of the businesses that at the start, this is brilliant. I like the idea. I start doing it, and then it fizzles out. And instead of just kind of chugging along, which a lot of us do, and sometimes you could be working in a corporation and chug along, when you feel that you kind of, especially people working with a company, if you're cringing on a Sunday night, you're not a tree. You can move. You don't need to keep doing what you're doing. And I'm not saying that you can, like when you're working for a corporation, go away and kind of start a new company or whatever. You can do that and always have security to protect yourself, especially if you've got a family to, ensure that you're putting food on the table and a roof over your head. But you can develop any skills. And some people think you need to go away and do college of, 4 or 5 years. Reality is sometimes you learn a lot more with 2 weeks with a specialist. And you can learn, if you've got budget problems, you can learn everything online. And when you're doing something, if the love goes out of it, if it becomes a chore, I think by being mindful with that, you don't stay in. You don't say, this is feeding me. Because if it could be feeding you financially, but if it's not feeding your heart, why stay in there? And find something that actually makes you bounce out of bed on a Monday morning and you don't look at days as if like you're living for the weekend, because there's so many people, they live for the weekend and that's when they kind of relax. And, like anytime I'm doing something, the week doesn't start and end. It just goes along and I do the things that I love. And you need to find that sweet spot. And I think by being mindful, that's what you achieve.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And uh I totally agree with you because in my conversations with so many guests, who are uh very prolific entrepreneurs who are doing great in business, I mean, I have experiences, my life skills, all of my life skills I have learned after I got out of my college. Not in school, not in college. When I got out in the field, I actually worked with people, I interacted with them. I learned all the life skills as well, not just my work skills. So very, very crucial. And when we talk about, that many people they just wait for weekends to relax, rejuvenate. Uh, we talk a lot about burnout as well, and that has now become more and more prominent, not only among entrepreneurs, but I think almost professionals as well. And uh, a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with burnout because what I think is their passion drives their work. However, they forget to relax. It could feel very fulfilling during doing everything. However, gradually it shows, signs and symptoms on your body, on your mental health, on your relationship with your family, your friends, your loved ones, in fact, with your colleagues or your teams as well. So, do you think mindfulness can be an effective tool to prevent that? And if yes, then how?
You need to kind of touch in with what you're doing. So there's a high percentage of people Friday night, they're going out getting drunk. And if you have to get drunk, that's that's an issue. And instead of thinking, this is what I'm working for and this is what makes me relax, the reality is it doesn't. And there's so many addictions that people have. And normally they crave an addiction when they're unhappy, but without even realizing it. And you need to just take the layers off everything you're doing and ask every question, because we've been conditioned from when we're born. Everything has been pushed on us to have a belief system that we think is right without us being free ourselves. And you have to tap into every single thing you do and just take a few layers. Why do I do this? Why do I think this? And Most people don't tell you to do that, or they just give you a magic pill. If there's something wrong, if you're feeling anxious or whatever, they'll give you a pill for that. And that's not the solution. The solution is trying to touch within and just think yourself. Just, get out walking, get out in nature. And don't think that having, say, a drink every night, oh, I've had a hard day at work, I'm going to have a drink now because I deserve it. What makes you think that that's the actual right solution? And is it, you're going through a wheel that just keeps chugging and it never changes. And you have to think, am I being abused in work? Because so many companies, they get them on a salary. And instead of doing, like, say, the 39, 40 hours that you should be doing, most people are doing maybe 60. And people are contacting them in the evening and at the weekend and everything. And then they feel guilty if they don't do it, because then their team leader, manager, director, whoever's in charge will look bad at them. They won't get a promotion. They might get fired. And that's a form of abuse in the company. And you need to understand that and have limits and barriers that, sorry, but I'm not contactable after 5 o'clock. I'm not contactable at the weekend. And start respecting yourself, because most people, they're trying to please somebody else. The one person you have to please the most is yourself, because then when you do that, your partner, if you have a partner, you'll be better for them. If you've children, you'll be better for them. Instead of trying to do everything and please everybody. So in life, say, there's times where you'll reach a limit and you cut somebody out of your life. And you'll never regret it. You always feel great for doing that. It's like there's some people that are sucking the energy out of you. And when you surround yourself with people that raise your spirits and you feel better, and that can be in a work environment as well. And I think that's being touching in with yourself. And how do I actually feel? Why am I not enjoying this moment? Why do I not enjoy going to this place, being around this person? And when you touch into that, every part of your life changes. So then the addiction, craving, it goes away, because then you're serving yourself and you're filling your tank with love, with care, self-care.
Okay, beautiful put. Um, and Roy, I know, I mean, uh, a lot of us, we go through personal loss or financial setbacks. We have seen people getting affected by layoffs or businesses getting closed, uh, during pandemic, post pandemic as well. So you have personally experienced massive success, however, extreme financial setbacks as well. So, how did mindfulness help you navigate through those tough times? Because it's really hard to um, get back from a huge setback and then once again start everything from scratch.
It's just a quick kind of let people know what happened. I had a lot of real estate properties, and when the crash happened in the States in 2008, it took a bit later to come across. Basically, the banks were fraudulent and they were throwing money at everybody, and then they just stopped lending. And I mean, for example, I was doing developments, and people that I knew, one was a professor and his wife was a solicitor, and they had 50% money and they couldn't get a mortgage. So once they turned off the tap, they turned it off. They weren't lending anymore. And there was a lot of carnage in that. And I was the president of a lot of companies. So usually with a company, when it goes bankrupt, it's kind of, you wash your hands and you move on. But in Poland, I was the president of all these companies, so I was personally liable, and I was liable for about 5 million euro, and I lost. Eventually, all the different stuff came down, and I had 3 properties in Ireland. Lost that, including my personal house with all my belongings. But everything was done fraudulently, and there was anger in me for seeing corruption with bailiffs, seeing corruption with courts, with banks and everything. And just to give you an example, bailiffs were working with valuers and kind of destroying a property, saying it was so bad. A valuer doesn't do that. And they were trying to, with the auction, it works at 75% for the first auction, 50% for the second. So they were basically, for a property that was worth $1.25 million, they would have been getting it for about a quarter of a million. And another property with houses, and they bribed people in the room, and they had their own cronies buying it. And this goes on internationally. I mean, at the time, you don't realize what's going on until you experience it. So that was kind of devastating, losing all that. And what happened is I started listening to a 6-phase meditation process and guided. And then I kind of done it myself in my head. And the main things that helped me was gratitude. Because when you lose everything, and I know it's happening daily around the world, and all you think of is everything, you think doom and gloom, you think everything is just on you. Why me? Why me? Why me? So you have to get out of that kind of thought process. And I know it's hard, but start thinking of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Like if you've got somebody that really cares about you no matter what, if you've got a child that gives you a cuddle and just has unconditional love for you, it's just think of the nice things. If you can have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or something that puts a smile to your head, be grateful for that. And by doing that, you're attracting more of that. The other thing that really helped me was the act of forgiveness. So I had hatred for so many people and companies because of what happened. Because, like, I never done anything kind of fraudulent. Everything I was doing was building kind of my empire as such, having a lot of properties and just trying to make a better life for me and my family. And then there was anger because of so much of the thing. And what I did is I started forgiveness. Some were easy because they weren't as big, but there was some massive ones there was people just, like a construction company just cheating and taking me to court and ruining a development because of their fraudulent things, you know. And so what I did is I couldn't forgive some of them. And the way that I figured out is I brought them back to the child. And we've unconditional love for a child. So when you see a baby, you never have hatred for a baby. It's just the most beautiful thing in the world. And I said they were like that at one stage. They were beautiful, free, nothing wrong. But because of external circumstances, they became who they were. Whether it was an alcoholic parent, an abusive parent, drugs, or even the parents working so hard that they left them, hanging around with the wrong people. And then they became who they were. And by doing that, I was able to forgive everybody. But what happened is the freedom came from within me because they're not thinking me, but I was. And when you have free forgiveness, it just lifts everything. So I encourage everybody, no matter what you're going through, sometimes people spouse, they have kids and there's hatred there. You're not helping anybody. The children pick up on it. Don't have hatred. You were at one stage in love. Go back, think of that, and just have respect for each other. And you can do that in any situation. Just bring it back to the child and think, okay, something happened, but there's no longer hatred, and it clears it from your own body.
Beautiful, beautiful. Uh, uh, that's really really amazing. So Roy, around mindfulness, you have co-founded something which is called as Braingym.Fitness. It's basically a platform dedicated to cognitive development. Uh, so, if you can share a bit about how exactly Braingym.Fitness uh, work, and I mean, do you think or do you see mindfulness as a key component for enhancing your mental strength and enhancing brain function?
Absolutely. Like, it's my business partner Arnold Beck he's kind of working on this for about 25 years. But as he said, we're the information that he got is from when we're young, because we're always trying to please somebody else. Like when you're young, you're pleasing your parents. When you're going to school, you're trying to please the teacher. And then when you're going to work, you're trying to please your boss. You're never free to create yourself. It's always compliant. And that's what it's all kind of about, whether it's relationships and everything. It's breaking away from the system, and that you touch into yourself. So it's it's kind of like having the weights in your brain. Everybody goes to the gym and they work on their muscles and their whether it's yoga and stuff like that. But are you working on your head? And there's so much mental issues, anxiety, depression. It's gone through the roof. And it's always about going to the doctor, and the doctor has this magic pill. And all I ask is just look at the side effects of these things. And there's even proof that they don't work. They like a lot of the psychologists and everything. The whole thing is all rigged. Um, just work on your brain, work on you, like relationships and everything. That's the kind of things like we've workshops that we've done that you just go in and, like it's an hour or so where we discuss it, but it's really tapping into that question, just like the conversation that we're having now. Just makes you think. It's not like the norm that you come across. And then he does training then for about 15 weeks. And it's a case of, it's all about working on your mind. And like if we look at even say dementia and things like that's gone through the roof as well. And if I look at say my grandmother, she lived till she was just 3 weeks short of 96, and even up to a few weeks before, because she went down fast, it was cancer that she got, but she used to always do crosswords. She used to always be reading and everything, keeping the mind active. And a lot of people fall into the trap of just kind of doing, like, how many people do you know, they never read a book after they leave school or college? It's like, it's scary that people don't enjoy reading and trying to do personal development, improving themselves. But it's like, you can have personal development on aging, on keeping yourself healthy naturally, just constantly trying to be better. And that's what we're doing with that.
Yeah, right, right. And I have had such a great conversation with Arnold because, when he explained about, having that straight jackets, how we become straight jackets and how to actually develop mental strength, just remove that conditioning that we have been in right from our childhood, that set template, that external validation, that people pleasing, that as per the external validation we have to create our personality, we have to create our thought process, our mindset and everything. So it's really really wonderful what you both are doing at Brain Gym.
Yeah,
So
he's an incredible person. I mean, like he managed with KLM over 6,000 people. He has incredible experience, and just even listen to him. I mean, we have a call. We even do a show together now weekly, and just listening to how working in corporate and just their way of doing things and everything. It's like he understands, and I understand as well. I work for a company, and it's it's good that we're not just kind of thinking, this is what it is. It's like both of us have experience, and this is kind of what we're talking about now for this conversation as well. Like it's it's not me saying how a corporation works or a big company. I've been working for one, before I became entrepreneurial totally and moved to Poland. And I don't like the way it is. And we have to respect ourselves, because when you respect yourself, you will never tolerate anyone belittling you. And so many people do it and just never accept it. Yeah, every time I stood up to somebody, like, because I'm very strong willed and everything, I never tolerate. And I would see people totally treat me different to someone else. And it's disgusting to watch, but that's the norm in so many corporations. So start respecting yourself when you know something is wrong, or even step in for somebody. Because some people, their voice is quite, they just fear it. And if you see something, an injustice happen, help them. Don't just think, someone else will resolve that. If you can step in and say, this isn't right. Because what happens is the people that are abusive in corporations, let's say, if people start reporting it and not tolerating it, you get rid of them and you get a decent person that's there to help the people that are working in the company.
true, true, that's true. And it does take a lot of mental strength. Uh, However, yeah, I mean, we are a person. We are a person of flesh and blood. We have soul, we have a self respect, and we have our own, importance. And if we don't accept this fact, I think it's very, very difficult to have that self respect. And, and it kind of becomes normal for ourselves to be belittled by other people, and that to people in power position. So,
E- Exactly. And it happens at a city level and government level. And like we were born free, we're sovereign. Don't ever think that they have better, like, because we know internationally they don't have our best interest at heart. So stop giving them the power. Stop looking at the person as if they have power over you and you must bow. Look at them with, you know, you're free and that they think they have control over you, but they're supposed to be serving you in the city and the government. And when you have that mental shift, they can see it, they can feel it, and they act differently.
exactly, because nobody's going to come and save you. It's your, it's you who is going to save you. It's you who is your own savior. Great, great, Roy. And before we wrap up, a quick, different perspective. I think some of our listeners may think about this, that mindfulness is all about slowing down. However, business, entrepreneurship, having, a good career, it all demands constant action and speed. So how can we reconcile these two opposing forces?
I think it's be mindful of your time.
Mhm.
And when you're doing stuff, set aside time to go out and maybe read and, or look at the sunset or go for a walk, do things. And when you're working, have and plan. I mean, for me, that's what works me. But like, don't listen to what I say works for me. You have to find what works for you, because some people, they're following these gurus and they're telling you what to do, and they've been on stage and they keep promoting people how to make so much money, and how they make money is being on stage telling people how to make money. That's their way of making money. And I think you have to touch in with yourself as well and say, okay, what is it that I want to do? And I think by being present, scheduling yourself, organizing yourself, not like a lot of times, say making a list. A lot of times people, they feel overwhelmed by doing that. And what you can do is, most of the time we know what we need to do. So get a clean sheet of paper and start writing down what you've just done. Because you know so many things you need to do. And then you'll see a list that's started to fill up, instead of a page of maybe 30 items and you cross off 8. And it could be brilliant. But you'll feel dejected and you think you didn't have a good day because you're just looking at the ones you've crossed off.
Yeah.
And instead have a white page with that. Or also, l- just kind of maybe put, if it's a financial thing that you're trying to do this for, put a dollar amount next to or what's important, because a lot of times we get busy doing the wrong things, and say, what's the most important thing I can do today, and try maybe have 3 items, and once you get them done, then you get a load of different things. But what happens is we tend to do the other things and then just procrastinate and not do the main things that's done. And you could do 20 things but not the 3 top ones. So when you focus, then you get the things done, you'll achieve more, and then set aside time for, go to the cinema. Just do things. Find out what makes, whether you like fishing, playing golf, whatever. Find something that you love and that fills your tank. And then when you are working, you have the energy to do it. Instead of, there's so many people, they just chug through life and they'll say, okay, when I get all this level, I'll then buy this house, I'll then get this car, I'll then go here. And you have to think, what did I do today that I enjoyed? And do that every day. Make sure you're doing something every day that you're enjoying.
Absolutely. Lovely, lovely, Roy. This has been such a beautiful and thought provoking, practical conversation at the same time. So, if our listeners would wish to connect with you, explore more about Braingym.Fitness, and of course, they would love to listen to your podcast as well. So, how they can.
They'll find everything on roycoughlan.com. They'll find my 6 podcasts, the VA World. and Braingym. And if I'm doing anything else, it's all updated and on that.
Great. We'll have all of the details in the show notes. And Roy, thank you so much for giving us so much to do a bit of self introspection about today. I think from your entrepreneurial journey to your insights on mindfulness, listeners have taken so much value. So thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you very much. And I just like to say to the listeners, what you're doing is brilliant. You're sharing knowledge with people because I've heard a lot of the interviews that you're doing. And what the listeners can do to help is give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, and share with their friends. Because when more people hear this, the world becomes a better place.
Beautiful, beautiful. That I couldn't agree more than, and that's really, really encouraging and inspiring, Roy. Thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, I would like to reiterate that mindfulness isn't just about slowing down, it's about tuning in. So, whether you are an entrepreneur, an artist, a creative, or just someone who is looking for more balance, these principles can transform the way you live and work. So, if you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review for us. And until next time, stay present and stay mindful. Thank you.